Designing an appraisal system and elements of an appraisal system. What is a performance appraisal? Performance appraisal is a process of assessing the employee's performance on the basis of established performance standards and performance targets. So here is a sample picture of staff performance appraisal form. So you have here the name, the employee ID number, department, classification title. So, ano siya. Next is designing an appraisal system. Step 1. Step 1 in the design process is to select the right people to develop the design for the system. The authors note that, of course, in federal agencies with bargaining unit employees, involving a system users would mean involving their exclusive representatives. Step 2. Next, a process to guide the design must be chosen. That is, consider whether to use a consultant, a task force, and or a centrally controlled body. Step 3 and 4. Before designing the system, undertake an organizational assessment and determine the system's intended purpose. The primary objective of the organizational assessment is to pinpoint the impetus for change, and the definition of purpose is to provide guideposts for the designers. The authors emphasize the importance of Step 4 when they state, Step 5, 6, and 7 involve designing, implementing, and evaluating the system. So when designing, we also need to evaluate the system. Using the information from Step 3 and 4, an organization should examine its culture and design a system that is either in accord with it or capable of changing it. Experimenting first with implementation is suggested, with certain questions to ask before choosing pilot sites. Finally, the organization should follow an evaluation plan with an understanding of how to use the information it provides to improve the system. So, schedule of performance appraisal. So, the company has options to schedule performance appraisal annually, usually at the end of fiscal year, semi-annually at the middle and at the end of fiscal year, quarterly every 3 months. So, here are the purposes of performance appraisal. First is to assess employees' accomplishments against performance targets, to determine the employee's quality of work, performance, and level of productivity against prescribed standards, to recognize the employee's valuable contributions and accomplishments. So, ang main purpose po sa performance appraisals is para ma-recognize nimo ang mga contribution o accomplishments sa imong mga employees, to sustain and reinforce the employee's satisfactory performance, and to set a direction for a higher level of performance for the succeeding year. Next, to determine appropriate training and development programs that may be needed by various levels of personnel. So, in performance appraisal pod is para ma-determine nimo kung unsa ang mga programs nga imong buhaton para ma-develop ang mga levels sa skills sa mga personnel. Next, to gauge the level of job morale of the employees, to provide a basis for guidance and counseling for employees with skills and behavior deficiency. So, mo to siya ma-develop pa ang mga skills sa employees nga katong na mga lacking pa or deficient pagyud ila ang mga skills. To institute remedial or corrective action for unsatisfactory performance work. Katong makuan pa, ma-remedyo pa ang mga mga work sa mga employee nga di jud siya unsatisfactory siya or di pa pwede. Then lastly is to provide a concrete basis for management decisions like wage adjustments, distribution of incentives, as well as future legal actions such as dismissal due to inefficiency, transfer, demotion, etc. So ang performance appraisal mong kay murag nagsilbi siya mura bitag kuan ka ng kining guide or basis sa kaning mga overall development sa mga employees throughout the year or months nga if needed mag-base dito sa performance appraisal kung kailangan bang patasan niyang wage or i-adjust iya ang sweldo o distribution sa mga incentives kung nindot ba iyang performance tas mga legal actions para nang i-dismiss ng employee kay murag di jud niya kaya ang trabaho or lacking jud iyang skills, then ipa-transfer siya or demotion, etc.
Elements of an effective appraisal system. First, a clear definition of performance targets and standards discussed with and agreed upon among all department heads, supervisors, and employees. Without this, there will be no sound basis for making an objective appraisal, thus making the assessment vulnerable to subjectivity and bias. When this happens, the rate is inclined to entertain doubts and possibly ill feelings against his superior. Second, an exhaustive performance evaluation form that covers standards in all job areas within the scope of the person's responsibility. Third, a system for monitoring daily performance of employees, the results of which are recorded and to be used as basis for assessment during the performance review. So, when performance results are not regularly observed and documented, there is a tendency to consider only the data that one could recall, and most likely these are the ones that happen towards the end of the year approaching the appraisal period. Fourth, a periodic dialogue between the manager or supervisor and his subordinate for the former to apprise the latter about his progress on the job, pinpointing areas for improvement. So, if the supervisor regularly monitors the staff's performance, he should also periodically discuss with them the results of his observations so that they will be alerted at the early stage of their deficiencies and take efforts to improve. He need not wait for the appraisal period before giving the necessary feedback. Fifth, an appraisal interview conducted immediately after the appraisal for the purpose of appraising the rate of the results of the appraisal and at the same time making him aware of the basis of such rating. Sixth, a development plan arrived at by both parties after the appraisal interview. This plan is designed to resolve performance gaps and to remedy possible causes for deficiency. It must be signed by both the rater and the rate. 7. Follow up by the manager or the supervisor on the progress of the employee after remedial measures have been undertaken. This follow-up is intended to ascertain the effectiveness of action plans so that necessary adjustments can be made to facilitate the employee's improvement on the job. 8. Administration of incentives based on the merits of performance using the results of performance appraisal as a basis. Last number 9. Administration of corrective measures designed to facilitate improvement to the employee's overall performance and work behavior. These corrective measures include corrective interviews, follow-up action, counseling sessions, retraining and coaching, improvement of work conditions when necessary, disciplinary action for continuous inefficiency and unsatisfactory work. Without the above elements, the appraisal system defeats its purpose as a tool for performance improvement. There will be a room for uncertainties, mistrust, and loss of confidence on the rater. The rate may also nurture ill feelings that will lead to loss of rapport between the employee and his superior.